This is session number 34 of the Silvertrac Extra.
Thanks for tuning in to the Silvertrac Extra, your source for the best tips, tricks, and how-tos to dominate the security industry. Helping you improve your business, win more contracts, and crush your competition. Here are your hosts, Chris Anderson and Johnny Page.
What's up, Silvertrac Nation? Johnny Page here, along with Chris Anderson on episode number 34 of the Silvertrac Extra, where we're going to talk about what equipment should I include in a mobile patrol vehicle. This was a question that popped up a couple of weeks ago. Chris, I believe it was the episode on mobile patrol efficiency. I believe it was a subject that had popped up, and we've actually come up with a pretty comprehensive list here of what you could include in a mobile patrol vehicle. Certainly for different areas of the country, depending on different job descriptions, you may not need some of these items, but I think we've got a pretty solid list here to get us started, especially if you're just getting into a mobile patrol. Who knows, you may find a couple of things on this list that you should have in your car that you don't have already.
Yeah, as long as you can bolt them down, nobody's going to steal them.
Right.
I hate to put it though. We got a great list here, John. This is exactly what I'd want in my patrol car when I was a police officer, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, man, this is, we went through this list and it's a great thing to have. And I don't mean to joke about it, but I did lose quite a few items.
Oh yeah, well I
think our listeners can understand how my feeling on this. So.
Oh, I'm sure, and I think the reason the last item on our list is actually an inspection checklist to make sure that it all stays in the car, right?
Exactly.
So you probably need something in place to make sure that you don't put this in the car and then 3 weeks down the road, the car's gutted and your officer is taken off with all these good tools. So yeah. First thing, Chris, and of course along the way, no need to take notes as a listener. We will have this full list for you at silvertracsoftware.com/34 for episode 34. So no need to take notes. Chris, go ahead and share any stories along the way here as kind of why some of these items should be in the car. I'm sure you have plenty. And to kick things off, first, we should probably include a post book or some form of client documentation for the sites that patrol vehicle is going to be hitting.
Yeah, absolutely. And even before that, let's even go back. Number one, guys, this might help you. In regards to patrol vehicles, be careful on your purchase with patrol cars. Before we get into all the operations and awareness and things you should have in your car, how about the things before you even purchase a car? This will be in another section later on down the road, but be careful on these fancy patrol cars because, they're really expensive and you need to really look at your equipment. Second, if you're going to put a driver in the car, make sure that the guy is licensed, okay? Make sure that he doesn't have a huge driving history problem of speeding or wrecks. Got to check into that. And then you got to check out for age requirements depending on what state you are. Because California, if they're not above 25, at least when I was in the industry, it was really expensive to put that guy in a car. So no matter how great of an employee he was, how long he's been standing guard, maybe he started with you when he was really young. So sometimes you just can't put those guys in the car based on cost. And then before you do all this, make sure that you have a really good maintenance program put together, a good mechanic somewhere, and then at least a good inspection checklist because you got to make sure these guys are putting oil in the car. All right, you got to make sure that they're checking the tires, and you can't depend on each officer to go out there. It's more paperwork, it's more inspections to do. So get one guy during the week to at least make sure they're going out and doing quality inspections on the vehicle, right? And that you got all that coming to you so you can take a look at it, before we even get into these topics.
Yeah, and I think we've actually done a webinar and we have an ebook on how to do vehicle inspections, both the routine and then also the more quarterly type inspections for your mobile patrols. We have a full webinar on how to set that up with Silvertrac. So be sure to check out the show notes. We'll have a link to that as well.
Yeah. And so let's go through this list here, John. We've got some, post books and our client documentation. So what I did is I made sure that I had a container that I could usually kind of lock down or strap down in the car or hold it with a seatbelt where I had all my documentations or post orders where the guards could go in and pull that information. I didn't want anything floating on the seat that could divert their attention and cause an accident, right? Number two, you're going to have to make sure you got all your cup holders put into place because guys are going to take their big gulps, they're going to take their Red Bulls, and they're going to put them in the car, and you better have a good spot for them. Otherwise, it's going to be laying on your interior or it's going to spill on the floorboard, right, and create bugs or problems. Second, your light bars. Save some time or expenses on your light bar. There's a lot of light bars that are magnetic now that you can transfer, right? So, you can put them in the back trunk. You can lock them down and secure those light bars, or spotlights. They got the little candle powered spotlights that you can use. So just a couple items. John, anything to add? Want me to continue, or what do you think?
Well, I had a quick question here. Going back to the post books, it's something I'd never quite thought of before. Is there ever any concern on your end as an operator? Would you ever be concerned of having a full list of all the patrol accounts right there in the car? I mean, I know you have to have it, but when it's in paper document, is there ever any risk that your officers would make a couple of photocopies and go take $1 raise at a competitor to have a list?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, you have to be careful of that, and you don't want to put your entire post order book. You need to divide your guys in groups, right? Wherever the guy is specifically hitting, right? He's going to have a book if you don't have it done electronically. That's, of course, Silvertrac. We can help you with that. But if you're going to put that stuff information, make sure he's only getting the book that he's supposed to have, and I'd be very careful on the numbers and the contact numbers that are posted as far as your emergency contacts, your property managers' names and numbers. Last thing you need to do is have the book being stolen and somebody calling the manager that shouldn't be, right? So, yeah, be very careful about that. Some of the guys, I noticed, will use GPS devices and program the patrol routes in the GPS unit, right? So it's already listed in there to prevent that, too.
Interesting. Yeah, it was something I hadn't thought of. And as you were mentioning the post book, I figured, with a pretty high turnover, cutthroat industry, I could imagine that's happened once or twice before.
Yeah, a lot of it is just how to get to the property, right?
Yeah.
A lot of guys aren't familiar. So it's just part of the industry. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Well, Silvertrac Nation, we've got plenty more to cover on things you can include in your mobile patrol vehicles. This is quite a comprehensive list. You won't want to miss out on that. We're going to cut over to our sponsors over at Paperless Proposal, and then we'll jump right back in to our featured conversation.
Developed for mid to large security companies, Paperless Proposal is the #1 enterprise-level cloud-based proposal creation and management solution. Use it to create, send, track, and manage highly customized proactive or RFP proposals. Differentiate your company and win more business with this powerful proposal generation software that can include office files, video, templates, pricing tools, CRM integration, and e-signature approval. Contact us for a free demo at www.paperlessproposal.com/Silvertrac.
So a couple of things we have on the list here: medical kit, extra gear for inclement weather, maybe an emergency blanket. Also another one, this goes back to how to deal with a repeat loiterer, some extra food, maybe like a granola bar, some crackers, a little Snicker bars. First, for also working with some of the vagrants, probably have some bottled water in there as well. But also, Chris, for handling some of the posts, if an officer can't leave the post for whatever reason, just a nice thing to have in the car. Obviously, you hope it doesn't get abused, but of course, a nice thing to help make things run a little smoother, to kind of avoid some headaches there.
Yeah, on the medical kit, just a simple, something you could buy at the, Target or something, like a little medical kit for Band-Aids. And if they cut themselves, don't give them anything to do surgery, obviously.
Yeah.
Keep it real simple.
Yeah.
Blankets, obviously, in case they involved in a accident or they see an accident or something occurred on property or their contract, they can keep somebody warm and comfortable. Okay?
Yeah.
That's always a good thing to do. Obviously, jumper cables, because sometimes guys will leave the cars or the lights on, especially if you have a light bar. That can kill the battery if you turn the car off. So if you are doing that, jumper cables in the back, some of my experiences. Make sure you got some good work gloves. You can get those cheap, and or go to a Target store and buy the little plastic ones that girls use for their hair dye, so the guys can just slip and put those on. They come in hundreds, right?
Yeah.
In these boxes.
Well, and because you never know who you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We should always have them in the pocket, and you got to be careful. That's a whole other thing as far as pat down goes. And then, if in fact the car has a problem or your car breaks down, you got to make sure that these guys have road flares. And number two, if you're going to stick road flares in the car, make sure they know how to use a road flare. In other words, if the car has a leaking gas, the car has a leaking gas tank, don't use a road flare, right?
Yeah.
And where to position the road flare with cones and safety vests, and how to wear the safety vest and when to use it. So if you're going to do all these training, make sure you document it too.
Yeah. Yeah. How about a hard hat for working some construction sites? Oftentimes that's required. We don't want to have a lawsuit or any type of OSHA violations, anything like that. Make sure you're carrying the hard hat if you're serving that vertical. Probably air freshener is a good thing to keep in there as well, right, Chris?
Yeah, because unfortunately these guys don't clean their uniform, and if you have cars that have cloth interior, these guys don't take a bath and they're not cleaning their uniforms properly. If that's an issue, I tell you, it gets right in there, and it's pretty problematic. So put some air fresheners in there in your car so your guys can breathe.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because when it gets cold, they got to roll the windows up. So.
Yeah, probably a couple of trash bags is a good thing. We've also going right along with the liability side of things, make sure you have a Bluetooth in the car. If you're going to require them to answer the phone, especially if you're in California or in a state that restricts talking on the phone while you're driving, you've got to have that in there if you expect them to answer the phone to avoid any issues. Probably want to have a charger for the cell phone as well. Chris, maybe a couple dog treats. I'm sure there's a couple good stories behind that one.
Oh, sure. You got different animals, and most important would be probably like a can of mace, right, or spray for animals that could be vicious. Because if you're walking around at night, because people, a lot of these communities that was pet friendly, and if you're working B or C properties that are problematic properties, you got a lot of people walking around with pit bulls, right? Dogs that are unauthorized breeds that shouldn't even be on the property in the first place. So you got to be careful.
Boy, as a dog, you really have polar opposites there. You're either getting a dog treat or you're getting mace.
Yeah, one way or another.
Yeah,
you're a good dog. It's okay.
Yeah, depending on what the officer is carrying. That's funny.
Yeah, well, with some of the dogs, you probably want to feed them anyhow, take your hand off. So.
Yeah, right. And then just a couple of other things. Maybe an ice chest if you're in the desert areas. Water's a big issue, especially if you have a lot of posts where they're working outside. Nice thing to have in the supervisor's vehicle. Probably going to need some sanitizer. Again, if you have a lot of contact with vagrants or the homeless, it's probably a good thing to keep in the car.
Yeah, you should have the sanitizer anyways, guys, because you're dealing with a lot of different doorknobs, different handles. You're doing lockups. You're carrying keys that are absolutely filthy. Let's admit it, right? If you got property keys or the client's keys that you pick up every night, full of germs. So constantly be thinking about wiping your hands and keeping yourself clean because you got to go home to your family.
Yeah, great point. Well, guys, a full list. Again, there was a lot that we didn't cover on here. We'll have this entire list at silvertracsoftware.com/34. We'll also have the links to that vehicle inspection ebook that you can use to set up your vehicle inspections with Silvertrac. Chris, anything else to add as we wrap up episode number 34?
No, just be safe, guys. Just be safe.
Awesome. Well, until next time, I'm Johnny Page.
I'm Chris Anderson.
This is the Silvertrac Extra, and we'll talk to you soon.
This has been another episode of the Silvertrac Extra. For more insider information, visit silvertracsoftware.com/extra. Listen on the go by subscribing in iTunes. Want to hear your questions answered on the show? Visit silvertracsoftware.com/questions to submit your requests.